Hey, YouTube friends. So, a couple of years ago, I built this metal garage that you see behind me. And it was sort of a forced decision because when we built our log home, the intention was to build a matching log garage. And when we got to the point where we were ready to build the garage, it was right in the height of COVID, and material costs had skyrocketed in what we thought was going to be a 28 to 30, maybe $32,000 log garage suddenly became $60,000. And my wife still wanted to build the log garage at $60,000, just to clarify, but there was no chance in hell that I was going to spend 60 grand on a garage. So after a lot of research, I considered my options. I was going to stick build one myself, but between work and everything that was going on in life, I just figured it was going to be too much time uh, out of my life to build it, and I didn't think that I was going to finish it uh, in in a reasonable amount of time. I think it probably would have took me months and months to get it done. Maybe framing like a wall on a weekend here and a wall there. It just was going to take me too long. So after doing lots of research and with a great deal of hesitation, I decided to build a metal building. Pricing was good. I watched some YouTube videos. There were some horror stories about people getting metal buildings and having just horrible experiences with the contractors and the companies that they chose. So my experience turned out to be a really good experience. And so I want to talk about that in this video. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to walk you through it. At the end, I'll go inside, I'll grab my contract, and I'll run down uh, the pricing on what this building cost me 2 years ago, which would have been, we installed it in July of 2022. I think we signed the contract in May of 22, built it in July of 22. So I'll run down some of the prices so you get a better idea of what it cost me to build it. I don't know where the prices are today. I don't know if they've gone up or down, but I'll run through the pricing that I paid. So, all right, let's get into it. Okay, for starters, I want to point out that we opted to go with vertical metal panels. And when I say vertical, that means the corrugation of the panels is going up and down. Uh, I think the more popular option for these garages is when the panels are going sideways, which um, so it was, and I definitely priced it out that way as well, and it was less expensive to build it that way. But I liked the idea of the vertical panels because it, in my opinion, it gives it more of a barn-like look. Uh, so I don't know. I just opted to go that route. But one of the advantages to doing vertical panels is you can see the framing. Uh, there's these like crossbars between. So you see how like there's crossbars between every stud, and that adds a lot of structural support. See how you got these crossbars going across the top, and then another one here, down here. So if you were to do um, the sideways panels, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for, but if you were to run the metal panels side to side instead of vertical, uh, you wouldn't have these extra braces, and so you just have the individual studs, and so doing it this way just added a lot of structural support to the building. And so uh, when we poured the foundation, you can see we did a stem wall. And the reason for that, when we did it, we had all the wall, we had all the sill plate anchors and everything already in, and we ended up having to cut them out because we did the foundation at the same time that we built our house over here, and I guess we built the foundation with the stem walls. These are 4 foot footers. They go down to the frost line. Most people that build a metal building just do it on a 4-inch slab. So we thought we were building a log garage, and that's why we did it this way. It ended up working out well for us, though. So this garage is a 24 by 24 garage, and in hindsight, I wish when I was, when I applied for the building permit, I wish I had designed the garage bigger. I would have liked maybe a 26 by 30 garage. I think would have been a better option. Um, I guess I just didn't realize how quickly I would fill up a 24 by 24. But we did, because of that, and having realized that after the fact, we did decide to extend the driveway along the side of the garage, and we put this lean-to. And so even though it's not part of the garage, it does still give us a little extra cover, which I use for the tractor. So, um, it was the best that I could come up with, having already committed to the foundation as a 24 by 24. But uh, overall, my experience building this garage went really smoothly. We opted not to get the metal doors that are included with the garage, uh, because we wanted more of a residential look. A few things that I'm disappointed in. The door quality. So we just painted this door a couple weeks ago. I should have did it sooner, but the door that they put on, I don't know. It's not horrible, but it's not the best quality door. It'll do for now. Um, it did not open and close smoothly when the installers did it. And when I took the door off to paint it, I ended up adding some 2x4 framing around it, and it gave me some more anchor space to anchor the door in. And now the door suddenly works really, really smoothly. So I think maybe it just wasn't, the door just wasn't biting into the metal framing enough or something. I don't know. It just seems to work better now that I added that framing. But um, so the garage itself is, we did 10-foot walls, and I believe that the standard on these garages is 8-foot walls. Every option you choose, there's a fee. So, because we went to a 10-foot wall, there was an additional cost. There was an additional cost for the vertical panels versus the horizontal panels. There was an additional cost, for the roofing to go vertical instead of horizontal. There's an additional cost to do color match screws. And that's one thing that I will point out. If you're considering doing a metal building, do not overlook the color match screw portion of the estimate. Sometimes they'll give you an estimate, and it'll be like, wow, that's a really cheap estimate. But when you start adding all the little details, like the color match screws add a huge expense to the cost of the building. And I'm not sure why it is, but the screws that are not color matched will be included, obviously, but to add the color match screws, it's like an extra $500. So it's worth it though, because if they were not color matched screws, they would stick out like a sore thumb. Another thing that I'll point out, typically these buildings, they come with, like, we have a black roof with black trim. We've got black trim around the doors. Typically a building would come with black corner trim also. We looked at a couple of buildings that had that, and I thought it made the building look sort of cheap, toyish like, and so I opted to do color matched corners, and I think it looks better that way. But um, adding windows, I'm going to go around the back. Adding windows is an added expense, so keep that in mind. It's a couple $100 per window to put some windows in. I ended up putting them on the back of the garage rather than on the sides. But and then this lean-to also added like another $1,700. I'll go over all the exact figures when I go inside. But overall, the building is really solid, and I feel like my wife and I built a really nice log home here. And people, when we first built it, a lot of people would stop and look at it and stuff, but nobody really knocked on our door and said, "Hey, who built your log home?" Uh, After we built our garage, for like the first year, I would say at least once or twice a month, someone would knock on my door and ask me about the garage. they would say, "Who built it? We love it. Can you give me their contact info?" And so I'm going to go in the house and I'm going to grab, I'm going to pull up the contract on my computer, and I'm going to go over some of the numbers. But the build process was great. We ordered it in May of 2022. They typically will not put your building into the build queue until your foundation is built. And most people, when they're building a garage, they're starting from scratch and their foundation's not done yet. So that could push your build out for like a year if you need to do the excavation and put in a slab and all that stuff. Um, our foundation was already built, and so all I had to do was give them a diagram and measurements of my foundation, and then we went from there. So when I put when we called and finally placed the order in May, that put us into the build queue. Our building was delivered the first week in July. I think they started on like July 1st and they were done on like July 3rd. So, um, the building process went really smooth. Thankfully, the person that did our foundation did a really good job. It was really, really super square, and there were no issues placing the building on a stem wall. Typically, if it's a slab, you can leave a couple inches around the building, like an offset, so that there's room for error. We didn't have that luxury because we'd built a stem wall with the foundation. Thankfully, like I said, the foundation guy that we worked with was really good at his job. Both the house foundation and the garage foundation are like perfectly square. So, but anyways, let me go inside, pull up the numbers, and we will go over them. And I'll, at the end, maybe I'll put a little worksheet up on the screen so you can kind of see what the numbers are exactly. All right, let's get going. Okay, so hopefully you can see this on the screen. I'm just basically pointing my iPhone at my computer screen here, but as you can see, everything is itemized. The subtotal for the whole garage came out to $15,995. Then there was $903 tax, so the total came out to $16,898.94. This, of course, did not include the foundation because we were already done. So if you're just starting your research and you're looking to build a garage like this, you should also factor in what it's going to cost you to build a foundation or a slab. Those things vary greatly, I've discovered, based on geographical location. So I'm just outside of Boston. Things tend to be a little bit more expensive in this area than, say, if you were down south, say in somewhere in like rural Virginia or something. But just keep that in mind. The foundation's not included in this. So 24, so a 24 by 24 garage was 4595, so roughly almost 4600. Adding the additional wall height to 10 feet brought it another, increased the cost by $400. And this is just for the framing. So, and then they built each side of the garage as an enclosure. So to enclose both sides was 770. To enclose both ends was 2390. Color match screw upgrade was $388. Uh, and then even like framing out doors and stuff, that's additional. So the frame outs for the doors were 350. We decided to do the Dutch door corners. I probably should have pointed that out, but it's basically like an angled corner at the top, left and right side of your garage doors. That was an additional $200. That was purely cosmetic, and it wasn't necessary, but I like it. They charged, because the company we dealt with was from, I forget if it was North Carolina or South Carolina, but we're in Massachusetts. There was a travel charge. They call it an up north price of $350. There was another $550 for to get the plans certified for 115 miles per hour and 60 foot pound 60 PSF snow load, which is required in Massachusetts by code. So there was an additional 550 to certify that. I decided to upgrade the framing to 12 gauge. There was a lighter gauge framing as standard, so I decided that it was worth it. Adding 2 windows on the back was $400. Adding the side entry door was $350. Uh, Adding the header bar for the door, which is required by code, was an additional $125. Uh, Going vertical siding versus horizontal siding added an additional $1,425. They didn't charge me for the additional charcoal trim. I'm not sure why, but and then I decided to do a lean-to, and that's this whole section here. So that's $1,798 to do the lean-to, with an additional 100 to bring the lean-to height up to 8 feet. The color match screws on the lean-to was $80. Another 275 for the certification for wind and snow load. Uh, the upgraded framing to 12 gauge for the lean-to was another 150. They charged me another north price. I'm not sure why it all came together, but and then there was the connectors that they had to use to connect the lean-to to the building, which was another $150. Uh, then they did give me a dealer discount. I'm not, you know, whatever. But anyways, so the total price, but that's it. That gives you an idea of how this gets calculated. But the total price in the end, including tax, came out to 16,898.94. So just under $16,900. Uh, I am so happy with the way this building came out, especially when I was looking at 60 grand for a log matching log building. Uh, even before the prices increased, and we were looking at 30 to 32 grand for the log building. So this metal building is like literally is half the price of what we would have paid for the log building even before the COVID price increases. So, overall, uh, I'm super happy with this building and the way it came out. Uh, would I do it again? Absolutely. Would I encourage you to do your research? Definitely, because I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I almost didn't go through with it because I was frightened off by some of the scary, shoddy work that I saw from companies posting YouTube videos, or people posting YouTube videos about companies who did their buildings. But uh, I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to wrap this video up, but I'll give you a couple last pointers and tips and stuff. So, okay. So, my advice to anybody that's looking at building one of these buildings: do your research. Don't jump the gun. I probably went back and forth with I don't know, half dozen different metal building manufacturers. A lot of them tried to pressure me into signing something quickly, and they would just shoot me email and email and email after email, and just wouldn't stop hounding me to sign something. I wasn't quite ready to do that. In the end, we went with a company uh, called Best Choice Metal Structures, and the main reason I went with them, even though they were from the Carolina area, is because they had a local representative here in Massachusetts that I dealt with directly. They went by Best Choice Metal Carports, but the building still came from Best Choice Metal Structures, if that makes sense. And the reason I did that is because when I called the local rep, she was able to give me the address to a half dozen garages in the New England area that we were able to drive by and look at. We didn't bother the homeowners or anything or ask about their experience. We just kind of drove by a couple of them and looked at them from the street. We did have to drive a little ways because there weren't any that were super close to us, but my wife and I just made, like we went up to New Hampshire. It was like a 3 hour day. It was like an hour and 20 minutes out. We kind of parked and looked at the building from the street for a few minutes, and then we drove home. There was another one out in Western Mass that we looked at. And the buildings looked like they were built properly. So, uh, yeah, um, that's how we made our decision. We went and looked at a few. Uh, I didn't feel like the local representative was pressuring me. She was very patient with me. She let me make my decision without any real pressure. So, um, and in the end, the building came out great. One thing I forgot to point out, um, in the pricing is we removed the roll up doors. So if you were going to do a building and use the roll up doors, you could probably tack another $1,000 onto that price tag, roughly. We went with residential garage doors, and we used a local garage door installer to put them in. That cost us almost another $5,000. So keep that in mind. So our 16,000 or just under $17,000 was really more like 21,000 and some change when you throw in the garage doors. So still, though, we got a really nice garage out of it. A couple things we have not done yet that I plan to do. We haven't run electricity to it yet. I don't know if you noticed when I was out there. I just have an extension cord running into the garage right now for the powered garage doors. Uh, I probably will do the electricity before the end of this year. I just have to trench the wire underground from the house to the garage, and it's only about an 8 or 9 foot trench from the house to the garage. So, and then I'll probably put a couple outlets inside the garage, put one up closer to the ceiling for the garage door openers, and I may put a sub panel in. I haven't decided yet. I don't have anything in there that I think will take a lot of power, so I may just run a direct circuit from the house panel. But and then another thing I want to get done, I thought I was going to do it this year, but it probably won't be till next year. I'm going to put 2-inch spray foam insulation throughout the building. I've been told 2-inch spray foam insulation stiffens up the wall panels and provides additional rigidity and structural support. So that's just an added benefit to it. But I think I'm going to um, do that either before the end of this year or possibly in the spring. Because you'll notice with these metal buildings, it's not completely airtight. They're a little, because of the corrugation in the panels and stuff, there are little openings and stuff where bugs and mice and stuff can still get in. So be aware of that also. If you're in an area where you might have mice and bugs and stuff, they can get into the garage. It's not completely tight. But spray foam insulation should solve that problem for me. And so, anyways, if any of you have any questions about that garage, drop a comment down below. Happy to answer any questions for you. Like I said, my experience was fantastic with Best Choice Metal Structure. Building my garage. I know there are other options out there. Some of them may be good, some of them may not be good, but do your research. That's the best advice I can give you. So until the next video, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.